As we talk about the new Utah Jazz uniforms here on the Monty Show, you felt like this was a thing where they just kind of threw it together.
Yeah, I felt like so first of all, I came to this conclusion just by simply watching the video they released on Twitter and YouTube, the one that everybody saw.
Right.
My biggest problem was that I felt like it was a shortcut. I felt like it was lazy out of the Utah Jazz. And the reason I say that is not just because I'm trying to hate on them, but when you cut enough video and you go through those processes, you start to know what to look for when you're watching some of these videos that they put together. So when I watch this video, what do we get? We get Jordan Clarkson rolling in his Lamborghini, right? The Lamborghini SUV, which is fire. I think that looks sick. But what do you also get? He walks in, he looks at, the new jerseys that are hanging off the clothing rack that they had. Jordan's saying they're sick, and that's awesome. But then you kind of get into the edit of like shooting him wearing the uniforms, and you can tell there wasn't a lot of hard work put into that edit. Like, it was not something that was super complicated. Why am I not seeing Jordan Clarkson out front of the building? Why am I not seeing Jordan Clarkson on the floor shooting? Why am I not seeing the jerseys in different places? Why am I not getting...
Well, but what are you saying here? I mean, you're saying that there was a lack of effort.
I feel like there was a lack of planning and a lack of effort put in. I thought, and again, I know I keep coming back to this, but I really was hoping the Jazz were going to take some of these new jerseys and, number one, do a giveaway. Why wouldn't you have said, release the video, and as part of the video, have those jerseys sitting out at very... distinct landmarks around Salt Lake City, or whatever. How sometimes organizations will do that, where they'll say, oh, New Jersey release. Hey, there's a New Jersey in this area. Go look for it. You're like, why wouldn't you?
Well, and my point was on Twitter on Friday, I just felt like this was not well done.
Yeah.
The event itself was not well done. In my opinion, you had an opportunity to do something really special here. You had an opportunity to have a big-time event. And we've talked about this ad nauseum on the show. Ryan Smith needed a win.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like he desperately needed a win here.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't gotten that win. And this uniform release, rollout, introduction, to me, was a loss.
Right.
Because the fan base is disappointed. The fan base doesn't feel excited. The fan base, in my opinion, wanted something different, wanted something bigger. And what I had said the other day was, well, what if John and Carl had rolled out in the Purple Mountain uniform?
Right, yeah.
What if you had, and the other thing that was stuck out like a sore thumb to me is, where was Donovan Mitchell?
Don't know.
Why was, and with all due respect to Jordan Clarkson, with all due respect, why wasn't Donovan Mitchell involved in this? And I think that's the thing that I really ask Jazz fans here is, are you guys disappointed that you didn't get a little more theatrics here? That there wasn't a little more of the special, unique, the flavor, the event, the big deal. Man, this should have been a big deal.
Yeah.
And all we got was highlighter yellow comparisons.
Yeah. Which I think was a natural reaction. I think that was always going to happen, but I have to agree with you that I do feel like, again, it was a missed opportunity. It's not that the jerseys are trash. Are they my favorite? No, they're not. Are they everybody's favorite? No, they're not. That said, I have seen worse. The Washington Wizards gold uniform from a decade ago was worse, we have seen worse in the league. So my point is not that, the jerseys aren't the worst thing we've ever seen. I don't agree with the assertion that they're the worst jersey in professional sports. We're not there with it. That's just not, these jerseys are fine. But I just don't think putting out, and again, my other issue is the video you put out was like 1 minute and 40 seconds. You couldn't give me 3 minutes? You couldn't give me, again.
But wait. So you do this professionally.
Yeah.
You make videos and you
all
cut
the
videos
time.
professionally.
Yeah.
How much work do you think? How many hours? How many
4 or 5 hours tops for the whole? I'm talking about
the whole thing.
I'm talking about because they did it. I could be wrong, right? This is just based on what I saw in the video. It looks like you did it in the underbelly at Vivint. That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. Yeah,
like in the basement of Vivint, which is fine. I don't have an issue with that. What I have an issue with is that you have access to the bottom of Vivint Arena, which means you can do anything with that space. And so my thing just is that you took like 3 to 5 hours, maybe. That is not a hard video to cut either, by the way. That probably took if they have someone professional, that probably took an hour, maybe 90 minutes. So I'm talking about an hour to set up the set, an hour with Jordan Clarkson shooting him, and then an hour.
But I also think that's why you had a situation where Jordan was just dribbling a basketball.
Yeah.
He was just doing like basketball moves. And what I wanted, and I guess this is my point, what I wanted and what my vision for this would have been is I would have had a throwback player wear the throwback uniform.
Yes.
I would have had Donovan Mitchell wearing a black uniform. I'd have had Jordan Clarkson in a highlighter yellow uniform.
I want it.
I'd have had somebody else. I'd have had.
I want Don in the black uniform.
Well, yeah. I would have had 3 Jazz players, or at least 2. I don't know. And I would have had Ryan Smith roll out in a jersey.
Yeah.
I would have had current guys, former guys. I would have had your asset, which is the players, on that retro floor. Like, where was the retro floor? I would have had an event. And I don't feel like we got an event.
The thing that stood out to me the most was in the beginning of the video, they played game tape of the shot from Stockton.
Stockton hitting the 3 against the Rockets.
So you played that highlight, and I was like, okay, I'm a big fan of this. I like this. You're playing the Heritage card. It looks phenomenal. But then you just skipped over current day Jazz. You went from that to this. You didn't do, the Stockton shot to Donovan Mitchell to like hitting some big shot or whatever, to then transitioning to the new era and like the new era of Jazz basketball or whatever you just had. That's why I feel like it was just kind of thrown together. I don't want to come off like as Mr. Negative or very upset or anything like that. I'm just saying that I feel like this is the Utah Jazz we're talking about. We're not talking about the Poughkeepsie Flyers who play in front of nobody.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I said the Poughkeepsie Flyers. Yeah, the Poughkeepsie Flyers. I don't even know if that team exists, but that's my point.
Never heard of you.
Yeah, never heard of you. But my point is that the Jazz are a professional NBA team who have professional facilities, professionals behind cameras. They're very capable, and yet this is what they give us, and that's why I say I just hope that as time goes on, there's more effort put into this stuff.
All right, let's get some of your comments in here on the Jazz uniform. Yes, I see everybody commenting. Yes, we have a new setup
What
today.
Are some of the comments saying?
Tanner Plummer says, I like the new changes overall. The sound's a little bit different, and the room looks a little kind of dark.
Yeah, right.
Tanner also says that, is it me or do their camera shots look different? Yes, our camera shots are completely different. We actually have 3 cameras now instead of just one camera doing 3 shots. So you get this shot of Jake every day now. You get this shot of me every day now. And you get this 2 shot or a shot of the room. That's what you get. So appreciate you noticing.
Yeah.
Ryan Buckley says, looks and sound good. Dante May, what's up with you? Alexander Duque says, didn't notice anything. Hey, good.
Great.
He says, the only show that keeps it at Buckington about the Jazz. Appreciate that. Jeremy Bolton, what's up? Happy Father's Day. By the way.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Jeremy Bolton has the best kids in the world.
Yes.
Well, you're not really kidding.
Yeah.
Jeremy Bolton's kids got him an Alex Caruso jersey and headband for Father's Day.
Let's go.
I'm just saying.
Let's go.
We're saving families across the world.
Let's go.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Ryan Buckley says the Jazz could have been more creative.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. Big Dog O-Town, what's up, my man? Good to see you. He says, yep, new uniform's not so bad. Love the purple. Everybody loves the purple.
And that's what I mean. Like, you could have, there's such an opportunity with that purple jersey. Like, I love JC, man. The guy is awesome. I have no problem with Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing here is, damn, dude, that's the purple mountains. Like you got to do something more than just throw it on him with the rest of the jerseys. It deserves better than that, man. Like, come on.
Yeah, I totally agree, Hundo P. Did you talk to Ryan? Dante May says, did you talk to Ryan? Your tune made a complete 180. You were talking kind of spicy to him on Twitter. Again, I will just say, we don't spin anything on this show. I think if you've become comfortable or normalized to one thing on this show, you're always going to get the truth from us. I mean, invariably, we're going to tell you what the truth is.
Yeah.
Ryan Smith doesn't want to do an interview with us, period. I mean, they don't even acknowledge our request. So he doesn't want to come on the show. That doesn't mean we're going to be negative, but we're going to tell the truth as we always do. Whether you come on the show or not, just because you come on the show doesn't mean you're going to get an easy pass from us.
Yeah.
But my point is, Ryan Smith is a Twitter user. That's where you're going to reach him.
Well,
and
again,
that's why I said that.
Again, let's look no further than, hey, we're not trading Joe Ingles, and then we trade Joe Ingles. Look no further. Like, Ryan Smith, this is the crux of the conversation. Ryan Smith is an owner that wants to be the poster child of the organization. He wants to be front and center. I'm the new kid on the block. I'm going to handle this thing. And most importantly, and he said this repeatedly, I'm going to take the legacy of the Millers and carry that torch properly, which, in my opinion, he's not quite there yet. I think there's a lot of work left to be done. I think carrying the torch properly is getting the details right and things like jersey releases. Like, I just think there's a lot of learning that's happening right now. And Ryan is on Twitter. There's no doubt about it. Tweet at the guy. Don't be surprised if you get a response.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to get a response, but he won't respond to me.
Yeah.
He won't.
Yeah.
But it's fine. You know what? It's not personal to me. I just think that there is zero accountability in the media in this town, and we've talked about that ad nauseum. I'm not really wanting to get into that again, but
it's no need.
There is zero accountability for them in this town. So a few more comments on this. Ruff's official, good morning to you, my friend. He says the purple is classic, the black is okay, the others are not good. Tanner Plummer says besides the purple jersey, the rest of the jersey sucked. Wow. I do like the new courts, though. The new courts look great.
Facts.
John Jackson, JJ, good morning, too. He said, I'm a big fan of the Jazz note symbol. It would have been nice to see them incorporate it into the design of the jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I mean, you got it on some level, but not not to that extent. I have to agree with that comment.
Ruff's official says if they're going to make the purple, why not make a white and purple? Thank you.
Yeah, see,
thank you.
Great comment.
Thank you, Ruff.
And I want to point this out. Everybody who says, "Oh, well, you guys just want to fight with Ruff's official," I'm not trying to fight with Ruff's on this one. That's facts,
That's
man.
exactly right.
There was so many. And this is inevitably what happens, and this is the beautiful thing about Twitter. Twitter will put out like mock-ups of jersey combos that are awesome. Like, I totally agree. Why are we not getting the purple colorway with white accenting? And then reverse that. White jersey with purple accenting.
Well, and more to Ruff's point is, why not a black with purple? You know,
Agreed.
fire black
That would look
with
amazing.
purple would be. My
amazing.
goodness.
And by the way, Are any of us going to be surprised when Charlotte rolls one of those out? Because you know they're going to at some point. That's part of their color scheme.
They might want to find a coach first. How about that situation?
Dude, yeah, that's not good.
Tanner says, and he's against the thing that you stick in his arm. Yeah, well. Yeah.
Hey, guys.
We're not going. We're talking.
That's John Stockton. He says, why not? Well, not to get political, but I don't know if bringing Stockton in the jersey reveal was a good idea, considering that he supported the release of the January 6th rioter. Yeah. I mean, there's some politics in that. Jeremy Bolton says, I can agree with what everyone is saying. I actually really like the jersey, though my Caruso jersey sucks. But how is it released? How it was released is very underwhelming, yes.
Yeah.
Spencer D says, Lonzo, Don, Jingles, Hunter, and Collins. The problem is Lonzo Ball is always hurt.
Yeah.
I had a good Twitter back and forth with a couple of guys on this over the weekend that I love Lonzo Ball's game, but the issue for Lonzo is that he's constantly battling knee injuries. He is a guy that is, I mean, he skips leg day routinely.
Routinely, yeah.
Like, he's got twiggy legs.
Yeah, he ain't got anything down there, man.
But he's always battling knee injuries, and that's just not something I want a part of, because I think the Jazz have shown that they have great players, but if they're not on the floor, what's the point?
Do you even lift?
Nah, probably not for Lonzo. Rudy Sanchez says, I actually like the mountain jersey for the 23-24. Well, but this goes back to process, and to your point, I think the Jazz had to, and from what I understand, when I was told, and I tweeted this last week, the purple was to save the jersey release. I mean, the purple was only thrown in there so that fans didn't hate everything they did.
Yeah.
That's why you're a year away from the other retros that they showed.
Which I actually like the ones that are coming. I have to be honest. I like what they've done with the new ones. Yeah,
so do I.
That are coming next year.
You should have had them this year. You should have had him this year.
How much do you think that the current roster situation is playing into this? Because I think that's a very relevant and fair question. The fact that you're talking about, all these Rudy trades, and we're going to get to that in a minute, but just the fact that you're talking about trading Rudy to, Chicago and Atlanta, and all these conversations are happening, Obviously, we didn't expect Rudy Gobert to be there, but let's say the Jazz were in a great place. Like, let's say they won the Western Conference Finals, but, lost in the NBA Finals. Well, then I think Don and Rudy would have been there. So I think it's very curious how much of an impact the way they went out of the postseason had on this type of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's pretty significant.
Yeah.
I can't believe that you don't have Donovan Mitchell involved in this. Like, I'm shocked by it.
Yeah.
I am shocked by it. I agree with all the commenters this morning as we talk Utah Jazz uniforms here on the Monty Show. I'm shocked by all of the poor planning that clearly went into this. I don't even know how to explain that. And somebody's asking why we know the purple jerseys were delayed or thrown in late, because they're not ready.
Yeah.
And generally you have to submit jersey changes to the league. Then you have to put those into production with Nike. For the Jazz, it's Jordan Brand. And Jordan Brand has to be able to churn those out at a high level so that not only can your players have them, but the team store has them, Fanatics has them. Like,
the mannequin can be wearing them.
Yeah, so that everybody's able to process that. And they weren't able to do that because they missed the production window.
Because it's all part of the plan.
Or no plan, to be on point. Yeah, black and purple, my two favorite sports teams, Jazz and Ravens. Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, like the Ravens color scheme is a great example. I mean, that would look amazing.
Dwayne Boone.
Dwayne.
What's up, Dwayne? He says the Utah Wasps. Their wasp colors, black and yellow.
Oh, I see what he did there, black and yellow and wasp and
because they're pollinating the NBA.
Right. Okay, got it.
It's probably too far. You know what I was saying. Also, Jeremy Bolton says, new sound, lights, etc. look fantastic. The only thing I'd update is that red bird you have back there. Comment on.
Yeah, set decorations are on the list.
Yeah.
They're on the list.
Well, there's big changes coming.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see. Tanner Plummer says you could have showed Don hit a big shot. Well, according to Garcia, Don has never hit a big shot in his life. Well, That's very true. That's very true. It is what it is. You know what, man? I just think they're not awful.
They're not.
The new Jazz uniforms are not terrible. They're just not great. They're not a home run. They're not the explosion that you hope for.
Let's be honest. You can take a pile of crap, and if your marketing team is good enough, they can make it look great. You know what I mean? So, I know that's an exaggeration, but my point just is the point, they could have just done a lot better. And maybe we're wrong for it, I guess, at this point. I'm starting to feel that way. Like, maybe we need to change our expectations, because it just doesn't seem like that they're at that place yet where they're really working hard to put out great stuff right now.
No, and I do think change is coming, and that brings us to our next topic. By the way, please give us a thumbs up and a like. We are rapidly approaching, by the way, 5,000 subs. Like, I am impressed. I appreciate everybody that's here, everybody that supports this show. Thank you so much.
Let's go.
4,760.
Dude, let's go. Let's go.
Do you remember, when we were at 3,000, and we were like, well, we're at 4,760. We are 240 subscribers away from 5,000 and giving away the PlayStation 5. So that's incredibly exciting. So thank you so much. And
no break.
Yeah, again, seriously, Coach, all gas, no break. But thank you for supporting this show. We have big things coming. There is some. These changes are just the beginning.
Yeah, we can't talk about it yet. It's highly classified information. But trust me, it's coming.
The build of the show is coming. So just get ready for that.
Yeah.
And on to our next topic. Let's talk about Rudy Gobert's trade value right here on the Monty Show, as we've been trying to update what the Jazz are doing. And it seems like the Jazz are driving an incredibly hard bargain, which they should be, frankly. Because I think Rudy Gobert has tremendous value on the open market in the NBA. And again, what the Jazz have asked for is a first-round pick and a star caliber player.
Mm-hmm.
Their most likely suitor, I think, remains the Atlanta Hawks. I think a deal that involves DeAndre Hunter makes a lot of sense. The Hawks have been unwilling to make a deal for Rudy Gobert that includes DeAndre Hunter. The second team is the Chicago Bulls, who have been pretty adamant that they'd like to acquire Rudy Gobert.
I want it.
The problem is they're not willing to include Patrick Williams in that deal.
And right there, if we just stop right there, I really feel like on both sides of this table in the Bulls conversation, they're doing well from an executive standpoint. I really appreciate the fact that it doesn't seem like Danny Ainge is willing to take Vucevic, Kobe White in a first rounder for Rudy Gobert. Because frankly, that's not good enough.
Because why would you?
Yeah, like I don't think by anybody's
mean?
standard that's good enough.
No.
And so then I look at the Hawks situation, and we know that they're real hesitant to include DeAndre Hunter and like DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, and they want the Jazz to take Capella. That's essentially what they want. But Danny's not willing to take Capella, which I really appreciate, and that's why I say it does seem like Danny Ainge is fighting for the right deal, and to me that's encouraging.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I find to be so compelling about these Rudy Gobert conversations is, what the rest of the league thinks of him. And I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that the rest of the league sees tremendous value in Rudy Gobert. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I think the rest of the league also knows the Jazz are in a situation where they have to deal Rudy Gobert. And I think that's why you see John Collins and not DeAndre Hunter. You're going to see a guy in Clint Capella, but not DeAndre Hunter. So you're going to take two rough contracts back, and you're going to be paying the luxury tax even more.
I'm screwed.
And not getting anything in return. That's why Alonzo Ball deal with the Bulls doesn't necessarily work.
Right.
Because he's a guy that's injured all the time. Patrick Williams is a guy that you have to have in return there because he's a young player who immediately fills a void for you. Much like DeAndre Hunter, Patrick Williams makes you a much better perimeter defensive team right out of the box.
Yeah.
He's a young player you can develop who can grow with Don. He has a lot of value. But the Bulls know that you're behind the eight ball. And they're not going to trade Ayo Dosunmu or Patrick Williams. That's why the Chicago Bulls are trying to get a third team involved in this. And Jake, again, not to go back to the we know everything and I'm hung like a steer, but we know everything and I'm hung like a steer because you knew, well, this is a $50 million trade no matter what you do because of how much money Rudy Gobert makes. You're going to have a third team involved in this.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. And I think that's kind of what we've been saying since probably 6 months ago. I mean, when you were forecasting forward, when you were in the middle of the season about like how this was going to look, I think we could all agree that based on the money and the cap and frankly how much luxury tax you're already paying, like the third team dynamic was always going to be at play. And I just think that to get something done because of the money involved, that third team is crucial. And that's why I think the Kenny Atkinson thing in Charlotte is such a big deal, because if he had taken that position and really solidified them, I'm not so sure that they would have added much to their roster. But now that he's not there and he's staying with the Warriors and now they're in limbo, the Jazz are still looking for a head coach. There's still a lot of opportunities and a lot of X factors at play here. And that's why I say this is going to be a process, whether we're talking about the head coaching hire for the Utah Jazz or we're talking about a Rudy Gobert trade, because it all works together. And that's what I think is so fascinating. It's like, clearly Danny Ainge is going to make a Rudy Gobert trade as soon as he can. It obviously, assuming the package is right for Rudy. But for me, I think there's a lot of conversation around, do you hire your coach first and then make the trade, or do you make the trade then hire your head coach? For me personally, I would be coach then trade. But for Danny Ainge and in the real world for the Utah Jazz, Danny Ainge is going to make that trade and then he's going to hire somebody. And that's how he wants it to be. He wants to hire somebody that's going to work in his structure, in his image, how he sees the team panning out on the floor. And that's what I think is just so interesting as part of the process.
Yeah, I don't know ultimately where this ends up, but I don't see a scenario to answer. James Knight says we're going to see Rudy's worth when he's rolling with another club. I agree with that. Totally agree with that. Ryan Buckley says, any chance the Jazz don't trade Rudy? I don't think so, because it's not that Rudy's a terrible player. He's got a terrible contract. He's making $41 million a year on average. That's awfully difficult to rebuild a team with.
Yeah. And
I think that's why he's the most obvious guy to trade. So I don't see a scenario where they don't trade him.
Yeah.
But I agree with James Knight, who You know what? I think you're going to see how much you overlooked Rudy, how much maybe you took him for granted when he's on another team.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't. Maybe you overvalued Rudy. I don't know. I think you're going to figure all that out when you move him to another team, and you're going to. I don't see any way they keep. I mean, do you see a scenario where they keep him?
I don't. I mean, I think that. I just think that Danny Ainge is here to build a championship contender, and it's not that Rudy can't be on a championship team. His money can't be on a championship team for the position he plays and his limitations on the offensive end, and that is truly the problem. And look, again, I know I always say this in the Rudy conversation, but I'm not even hating on Rudy. I'm just simply saying that you're paying a center who doesn't really have much of an offensive game individually $41 million a year on average over the course of his deal. And that's not going to be good enough with where this roster is at. And so then you compound the Rudy contract with other things, as we've done so many times on the show. But, you look at guys like Bojan Bogdanovic, you look at Mike Conley's deal. Frankly, you look at Donovan's deal that I feel like he's underperforming on so far. I don't feel like Donovan Mitchell has lived up to it yet, but I think this season is a proving season for him. So we'll see. But the point just is that when we talk about Rudy in this process, I don't think there's any way that you bring him back. I think it's a lock 100% that you deal him because you need to get on with it.
Wait. I want to back up to what you said. You don't think Donovan's earned his contract?
No, I don't. I don't think that Donovan Mitchell has lived up to it in a leadership role. I don't think he's lived up to it on the floor. I don't think his body is held up properly. And frankly, I think that he has a lot of proving to do. Not only has he not gotten as far in the postseason as Jason Tatum and Devin Booker, he's not as dominant of a player as those two guys are on a consistent basis. And that's the conversation. It's not just what your points per game average is on a stat sheet when the season's over. Sure, that may be one way you get paid, but it's how you're viewed. It's how how you're viewed, how you're perceived. I don't think that anybody is sitting here saying Donovan Mitchell sucks, but I also think we got to have a tough conversation and say, hey, he fills up the stat sheet, and at the same time, you're getting $33 million a year. That's a problem, right? Like, you have to be a leader, you got to carry your team, and you got to take them through the trials and tribulations of the year.
Yeah, and his average annual value, his AAV, is $32.6 million. I think one of the things we've talked quite a bit about on this show is, does remaking this roster around Donovan Mitchell kind of provide an opportunity to prove him? Or I think it exposes you one way or the other. And I think every professional athlete realizes this. When you get paid, there's a level of exposure that comes with that. And a lot of times that's good, and a lot of times that's bad. I don't think the money impacts the way that Don plays basketball in the slightest. I don't think it's even a factor in what happens with him on the floor. I think the bigger question is, when they remake this roster and they bring in new guys, does his game elevate? And I think it does, because he's a grinder. He's a work hard guy. He is absolutely out there busting his ass.
I'm for real.
This summer. I have trouble believing that Donovan Mitchell doesn't embrace the big stage or the big contract, Jake. I think he does wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I think he does too. And that's kind of the other side of the conversation. So after we agree that Don, has work to do in this situation and frankly for his career and his legacy, if you will, then we got to move to, okay, well, what does getting dynamic wing defenders do to his game? What does getting a true scoring threat next to him do for his game? Because I got news for everybody. Mike Conley is not feared in the league. Bojan Bogdanovic is not feared in the league. Royce Buckets O'Bench is not feared in the league. Like, these guys, nobody is scared of these guys, which is why repeatedly they are no-shows in big games. And that's part of the Rudy discussion. So then when we get to, well, hey, Don's also a no-show. Well, why is that? Don's the best player on his team. He's the biggest threat to the defense. Of course they're going to take him away. So my point is, when you give him space to operate, when he's not getting double-teamed constantly, he's going to put up numbers. He is going to be that guy. Now, the question is just going to be, how far can he take them individually? That's the question. Can you, after this next season, can we definitively say that Donovan Mitchell can get you to the postseason on his own? Just get you to the postseason on his own.
I don't know. I think after last season, no. After next season, I think probably.
There's a distinct possibility.
Because I have to believe that Donovan Mitchell is going to come back to this season with a lot more in his bag. I do. I think.
I hope so.
I think that mid-range game has to be his focus.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to the Brickley summer runs because he's a big part of those.
Black Ops.
Yeah, like the Black Ops stuff. Like when you get that kind of money, like what do we like a major bag alert? When you get that kind of cash, my God.
Yeah.
Absolutely, right? It's a major bag alert. Like that's life-changing money.
Yeah.
So my feeling is, and this is just my opinion, I think Don embraces that. I think he truly embraces that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Let's get some of your thoughts in here. James Knight says we're going to see Rudy's worth. I saw that one. Thank you. My point about maybe Jazz might have to keep Rudy because the teams don't want to give equal value. I agree Rudy's contract has to go. Jazz basically trading his contract. Absolutely. But you're never going to get equal value when teams realize that you're leveraged.
The biggest issue is not that teams don't value Rudy Gobert. The biggest issue is that the Jazz don't have draft capital to make a trade more robust.
And James Knight makes the best point. A player is worth what the market is willing to pay for him.
That's agreed.
And the market's not willing, so far, the market's not been willing to bear a first-round pick and a star player in return for Rudy Gobert.
Yep.
Yeah, facts, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, James, I think that's a really good point. DW2CB says, if the Jazz can get a legit wing defender and an adequate center, then a Gobert trade is worth it. And this is kind of the conversation as well. Like, what do you need in a center in this league? Because I don't think you need I don't think you need a Rudy Gobert who's one-dimensional. I don't think you need, like, Clint Capella to me is a waste of money.
Shout out to Mo Bamba.
I think Mo Bamba's a waste of money. I think what you need in a center is a guy who can defend the pick and roll and who can rebound. And by the way, if he's able to shoot the three, John Collins, that's great.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you already have that in Rudy Gobert. He's one of the most elite. He's basically the best rebounder in the league. He plays great defense, and he sets good screens. I think the modern day big, you have to have a shot as a modern day big. You have to have at least a push shot or a jumper.
Yeah.
Like you see, for all the things DeAndre Ayton is not, right? All the things, he has so many struggles. There are a lot of things that he's not good at. He has an offensive package. He can make the elbow jumper. He's got good touch around the rim. Like, you can do things with him, and that's the problem. The Jazz have no ability to play 5-on-5 on the offensive end because the defense doesn't respect Rudy Gobert.
By the way, this is what exposes a Royce O'Neal.
Yeah.
Like, Royce O'Neal becomes less tolerable because you have a liability offensively in Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
So when you have nothing in the paint, and that's been the ailment for the Jazz, when Mike Conley can't finish at the rim, it creates a huge problem.
Yeah.
And it magnifies that issue because Rudy Gobert doesn't have a back-to-the-basket game.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I don't see a scenario where they can keep him. Money-wise and offensively, I think you have to grow and evolve. And the only way that happens, in my opinion, is if you trade Rudy and you bring in a new set of guys.
Yeah.
And I think the other question that was asked is, do you see trades being made before him? I don't. I think you have to make the Rudy Gobert trade so that you are able to use all of the assets currently on your roster, because if you need to include a Trent Forrest, a Jared Butler, a Bojan Bogdanovic, if it becomes a 3-team trade and you can move Bogey and Rudy Gobert in the same deal, that's ideal. So you don't want to trade Rudy before you make a larger trade, Jake, because I just think that you have to do more with less.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a better word than linchpin for their entire offseason.
Yeah.
The Rudy Gobert trade is the entire situation. I mean, once he's gone, the floodgates have opened,
yes.
and now you can make a ton of other deals, and things can happen. So yeah.
I totally agree. It's not an easy thing to do to trade Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
It's not, and trust me when I tell you, people I talk to at the Jazz tell me they don't take it lightly. That there is a lot of angst over trading Rudy Gobert, as there should be.
Yeah.
Ryan Buckley says John Collins in a Jazz uniform would be awesome. Totally agree.
Yeah.
James Knight says, I agree, Jake. Look at Booker's sharp improvement when he had CP3. True.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like I just feel like it's not that these guys are just light years ahead of Donovan Mitchell. It's that they have guys who are putting them in better positions. Guys like Donovan Mitchell can beat any defender in the league, provided they have space to operate in. If you don't have space, you're not going to be able to beat your man. And that's what Donovan Mitchell needs. We've yet to see what Donovan Mitchell looks like in space on a nightly basis. We know he's got range. We know he's got a great finishing package. We know he needs to dunk less so he gets, injured less. Like, we know all of these things. But what does it look like if DeAndre Hunter's to his right and Bogdanovich is standing in the corner, whoever that three-point guy is? That's what I want to see.
Look at you, Jake. Like, did the new camera and
they changed me as a person.
My software, the graphics.
It's just come out, and I'm just, and we don't have to work today, so everything's just amazing today.
Yeah, we're off at the Yelpatory today.
Yeah.
Like, you're just fired up and ready to go.
Yeah, man, I'm for real today.
You got that Ruth's Chris,
Dude.
strip medium.
I love a New York strip, man.
Yeah, we had an amazing dinner. All right, couple more comments on thine Rudy Gobert. Let's see. Ruff's official says, I was watching an old school game with Shaq and Mutombo. I'd love to see a team go back to bigs 3, 4, 5, and 2 points that can shoot threes. Well,
it's a great setup.
I don't think you're going to see that anytime soon.
Unfortunately.
Because those guys wouldn't be able to hang defensively because you would just small ball them to death. But I don't disagree with you. The player is not necessarily worth whatever Lindsay wants to pay for him. Oh, my God.
Dude.
DW2CB, you're new to the show. You need to settle down.
Y'all feel me?
Dennis,
by the way,
remember when somebody said, you don't talk like that about Dennis Lindsay. He's a beloved member of the Jazz family.
Okay. So that's how it's going to be.
No, he's not.
By the way.
Well, he is a beloved member of the Gobert family.
By the way, we love all the comments.
What I did there?
Yeah, he is. He
Gobert
is.
family.
Yeah. We love all the comments. If you want your comment read first, you can tip us. It'll highlight it. Go ahead and do that.
It will. I agree. Gabe Levy says, morning, boys. Love the new on-screen graphics. Thank you very much. And, yeah, if you're just tuning into the show, new camera setup, new graphics, new software.
We spent the weekend setting this up. We were pretty excited about it.
Big things are coming.
Yeah.
Big things are coming. We used to use, just to explain this a little bit.
Yeah.
We used to use one camera that did 3 shots. And, frankly, we couldn't stream in 1080p. It just wasn't on par. So, you want to hang with the big dogs, you got to have 3 cameras and a switcher. And you got to spend 10 G's and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Support the show, please. We're begging you. Let's see. Neville93 says, Rudy acts like he is the captain of the team. Don't disagree with that.
He wants to be.
Nothing wrong with that either. Rec1 says Gobert fit in the modern NBA, but as a 20-minute rim protector. Correct. Big Dog says, seen this 6'10 wing from Baylor, Jeremy Sohan. Think he'd be a good fit for the Jazz, but with no draft picks, probably impossible. But Google him. No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But that's part of the Danny Ainge conversations that he's having. What can I do in the draft? Because I know for a fact he is not amused that they're not in this year's draft.
Correct. And I think that's why in the Gobert deal, I think the Bulls and the Hawks makes the most sense because they have a first-round pick. They're willing to trade to upgrade their rosters.
Yeah.
And if you can get into the draft, by the way, the NBA draft is Thursday.
Isn't that insane?
It's
already
But
Thursday.
I love the way they do it because it keeps momentum going.
Yeah.
And then you go right into NBA free agency.
Right.
So, by the way, that's the other thing that is kind of a priority for the Jazz right now, as I am told, that they really would like to add in free agency, but they're not going to be able to do that. Excuse me. They're not going to be able to do that because they don't have cap space. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation for them, honest to goodness. Yeah. They've got to make this Gobert trade. It really has to happen. DW2CB says the camera really brings out your complexion.
You're just such. Wait, come on. ISO it up on you. Can we? Yeah, you're just a beautiful human being. It just is really. It really is quite awesome.
Just so you can go to Pound Town.
Well, not quite that far.
Nobody wants to go to Pound Town.
Yeah,
trust me.
Thank you.
Trust me. All right, make sure you give us a thumbs up, give us like and some subscribe. Would really help. Subscribe to the show. Here, let me speak English. Subscribe to the show. Give us a thumbs up. We appreciate you guys being here. Without you guys, this show doesn't happen. So you guys watching the show every day, we really do appreciate that very much. And by the way, By the way, I do want to get into this Skip Bayless conversation because this one is a difficult one, and I don't know how many people heard this over the weekend, but there's been a bit of uproar over Skip Bayless saying this on Fox Sports.
And I don't care what Twitter says. I don't care what anybody says. I just know what I see and did not see from little light-skinned Steph.
What did you not see the series?
There have been too many times when he got so light-skinned in the finals, I couldn't see him anymore because he turned into a ghost. He disappeared.
Wow.
He just went poof.
What?
And I'm going to play that for you again. This is Skip. And do you remember the name of the
Undisputed.
Undisputed. Thank you.
Yeah.
Undisputed.
Fox Sports 1, Undisputed.
Honestly, I've never seen the show. I have never watched it, not once. I am not a Skip Bayless fan since his First Take thing. I actually knew Skip well back in the day of my, Jim Rome TV producer day stuff. We used to put him on The Last Word quite a bit. He was a icon in Chicago as a sports writer. Skip is one of the most knowledgeable and intelligent people I have ever spoken to. But when you call Steph Curry light-skinned and you refer to him as light-skinned, I think this is a real problem.
And I don't care what Twitter says. I don't care what anybody says. I just know what I see and did not see from little light-skinned Steph.
What did you not see the series?
There have been too many times when he got so light-skinned in the finals, I couldn't see him anymore because he turned into a ghost. He disappeared. He just went poof.
Man, that's hard to listen to.
It's a problem.
But Jake, so the question is, should he be fired for that?
Yeah, unequivocally, no doubt about it, he should be fired for that. And I think that this is the problem with Hot Take Show. This is the problem. This is the only thing that separates First Take from Undisputed is that you got guys like JJ Redick who go on there and they bring well thought out arguments. They bring, factual based arguments. And that's the thing that I think separates First Take from Undisputed. Undisputed is two guys in Sharp and Skip going back and forth, and it just sounds like they're yelling at each other. And this is what happens. And I think a big part of me thinks that Fox just does this show to try to stay in the news cycle when they don't have a major sporting event on the network. And that's a problem because you're going to get guys like Skip Bayless saying things like this. And I think absolutely this is racist. He is a middle-aged white man saying this, which is a huge problem. And you're doing it on national TV. It's a problem. And he's going to issue an apology, and then we're all going to forget about it. And hey, if that's our culture, I guess it is what it is. But I think no doubt about it, he should be fired for this.
Yeah, I think that there is quite a bit of consternation about this. And by the way, coming up here in 2 minutes, we have NBA breaking news for you. But this Skip Bayless thing is a big deal. And I think the thing that really stands out to me most is this is what we tolerate in this country. And when we start allowing, a 90-year-old white guy to call Steph Curry a light-skinned black guy, that's a problem.
Yeah.
It shows a complete lack of empathy and caring and desire to be good at what you do. Calling Steph Curry a light-skinned anything is lazy. Calling Steph Curry a light-skinned anything is racist. Mm-hmm. Skip Bayless should be fired for this. And I agree with Jake 100%. This right here is what's wrong with Hot Take TV. And I understand that it is an absolute battle. I totally understand that Fox is behind the eight ball when it comes to their competition with ESPN. But I also understand Skip Bayless and Fox Sports owes us far more than this.
Yeah.
Skip Bayless and Fox Sports know better than this. I think the problem here is Skip Bayless went too far. And there's no way to apologize for calling Steph Curry light-skinned. There's no way to apologize and say it was a mistake. Because it wasn't a mistake. This was stream of consciousness from Skip Bayless.
Yeah, it was intentional.
By the way, I also think this is exactly what Fox Sports and Skip Bayless want us to do.
Yep.
And maybe we're falling into that. But by the way, this is why I don't watch that show on that network.
Yeah.
Because what am I getting from it? Even in football season, what am I getting from it? This is why I also agree what you said about JJ Redick. I think JJ Redick does a very good job on ESPN. I think he and guys like Dan Orlovsky, they're the future of television. They're the future of sports opinion programs. Not guys like Skip Bayless. not guys like Stephen A. Smith. They don't belong on TV.
Well, and I think one of the best things we've seen recently is J.J. Redick and C.J. McCollum taking Stephen A. to the woodshed over some of the things that he said. That was one of the best segments that I think we've seen in some time. And that's the problem, again, with Undisputed. You don't have that dynamic at play where, you essentially have a round table feel and Stephen A. will say one thing and then J.J. and whoever's sitting next to him on any given day will go after him for that if they disagree with it. And that is why ESPN, to me, is better. That's why ESPN is the next level, because they understand, okay, there's a line. There's a line in the sand. We want to walk up to that line, but we're unwilling to cross that line and call somebody a light-skinned. That's not cool, man.
That's crazy.
That is racist. That is everything that's wrong with it.
But will Fox do anything about it?
No, they won't. What they'll do is Skip is going to issue an apology at some point today. Maybe he has and I missed it, but I don't think he
so?
has. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Skip
I have a hard time seeing
Skip
him
will.
do that.
Skip will.
You think he'll apologize for
this?
this?
Yes, because
Wow.
the reason he will
Wow,
is because,
Dad, wow.
Yeah, the reason he will is because of public reaction. There's no doubt. I think he will issue an apology.
And there has been, and I think that's a really good point, because there has been quite a bit of public reaction to this.
They don't apologize when it's not a big deal. If it's not trending on Twitter, we're not apologizing for it. If it is trending on Twitter, we're gonna. It's almost like like do it and ask for forgiveness later. That's their strategy.
Are we making too much out of this?
I don't think we are. I don't think we are. There was a famous Jordan Clarkson moment early in his career when dealing with Kobe, when he was on the Lakers. Everybody knows this moment. Kobe told Jordan Clarkson one night that he was, at halftime, that he was going to the rack like a light-skinned. And that's why that goes around in NBA circles, because everyone wants to repackage it as a Kobe reference.
Yes.
The difference is Kobe Bryant, I got news for you, is Kobe Bryant, and he's black, and he can say that to another black man in an NBA locker room. They're not on national TV. Kobe is not a middle-aged white man who frankly lacks credibility and just runs things out there. That's the problem. So there's no way to spin this positively. You called a black man, by the way, one of the most popular and relevant athletes right now, a light skin. That's a problem, bro. You can't do that.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that 100%. And I'm struggling with this.
He should be fired.
Jeremy Bolton says Skip Bayless should have been fired 20 times over. I would agree with that.
Agreed.
Dop Hop says, couldn't tell in the clip, but did Sharp challenge that phrasing at all? Well, let's play it again for you. This is Undisputed on Fox Sports. Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp, and here is Skip Bayless calling Steph Curry light-skinned.
And I don't care what Twitter says. I don't care what anybody says. I just know what I see and did not see from little light-skinned Steph.
When you gonna see the series?
There have been too many times when he got so light-skinned in the finals, I couldn't see him anymore because he turned into a ghost.
Do you see how casual he is with
man.
it? That's my thing. He's just casual with it. It's not like
It's so easy.
It's just easy. It's comfortable. It's almost like it's who he is as a person. It almost like that's what I have trouble with. I mean,
I really hope, and I don't think we are, and I think we try to be very cognizant and aware of what we say, but I really hope we're not overreacting to this. I'm not offended by it. I'm frustrated by it because I think it is weak. I think it's easy. I think it's the easy play. So I'm not offended by it. I just think it's not highbrow. It's not intelligent. It's not well thought out. You're a racist. This was easy.
Light-skinned Steph.
You were talking off the top of your head, Skip. And when your stream of consciousness, if you're a guy that uses the N-word, the N-word's coming out.
yeah.
If you're a guy who looks at Steph Curry and thinks he's a light-skinned bum or whatever it is you think of Steph Curry, you called him light-skinned on television, and you didn't do it once. You did it twice. And usually when that happens, what that means is, and trust me, when I've said things I don't like that I've said, there's an instinct for you to go and double down on that. Mm-hmm. And then what did he do? He called him Casper the Ghost, as like he was trying to say, well, you're disappearing, light-skinned, I confused you with a ghost.
Yeah.
Let me spin this out of racism. And because when he said it, he probably was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like, uh-oh, that didn't sound good.
light-skinned Steph.
When you not see the series?
There have been too many times when he got so light-skinned in the finals, I couldn't see him anymore because he turned into a ghost.
Like, what are you doing,
That's him
bro?
trying to save himself.
What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Yeah. Anyway, I'm not playing that
Big
again.
Dog O-Town with a $5 tip today. Thank you, Big
Thanks,
Dog. He
bro. I
says, no
appreciate
comment, love the show. Exactly.
Shout to Mobamba.
Stephen A. has got off scot-free on many occasions as well. They need to be more accountable over their professionalism. Totally agree.
But what's the difference? And I'm not trying to be any type of way. Stephen A. is a black man. He can say things that Skip Bayless cannot say.
No, he can joke about Steph being light-skinned and get away with it.
Yes, because he's black.
Skip Bayless cannot.
Yeah.
Because Skip is I don't know how old Skip is, probably 70 years old. He's a 70-year-old.
67. Let me
He's a
Google it.
multi-millionaire, 70-year-old, 70 years old, Mrs. Monty is telling me in the background. He's a 70-year-old, light-skinned, white guy that's a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
Skip, I can tell you, Skip is a Porsche guy. He lives in a house in Malibu. Skip is a 70-year-old white guy that's a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
He can't get away with calling calling Steph Curry light-skinned. He can't. Big Dog, appreciate the tip. DW2CB says, replace Skip with Team Monty. Hell yeah.
Hey, man.
DW2CB also says, what is Rudy Gobert's skin tone like for you, Skip? Exactly right.
Seriously.
Notice he hasn't. Yeah, anyway. Gabe Ledley says, what the F does Steph's skin tone have to do with anything? Skip is the worst. Surprised he didn't just finish the job and call him boy, too. Awful.
Yeah,
Woo.
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But that's the problem when you say stuff like that. Now it forces, whether you're a listener or you're us, to draw conclusions.
But here we are sitting here talking about it. As we are now talking about breaking NBA news this morning, as Shams is tweeting that Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets are in an impasse, likely opening the door for Kyrie Irving to leave the Brooklyn Nets. Chaboy! Kevin Durant.
We're really focused on Philadelphia right now.
Yeah, they were. You got to have an opinion on this, I would think, because you're a Kevin Durant guy.
Yep.
And the funny thing is, this gives Kevin Durant to get over that Warriors comment, because what did he tweeted essentially that his legacy died July 4th of 2016 when he went to Golden State, right? So I think this is number one. I think Kyrie Irving's got tremendous value around the league. I don't think he'd have any trouble finding a new home. And again, I'm telling you, the Lakers and Russell Westbrook, that was a conversation. NBA sources told me a month ago that the Lakers and Nets had talked about a Russ for Kyrie swap. I feel like the Lakers are a home here, but you're a noted Kevin Durant slurpathon-er.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Kyrie Irving leaving him there alone?
I think it's great for Kevin Durant. I think that Kevin Durant, from a legacy perspective, has a ton of work to do. And I'm really not looking to get into what defines a ring chaser or not. But in my opinion, Kevin did ring chase when he went to the Warriors. I think that, and I think that really hurt his legacy and what people know him for. And I think it's a shame, because I really feel like his legacy should be the greatest scorer the NBA's ever seen. Like, I'm talking about all time. And it's really unfortunate that that's kind of what he's done to his legacy. And I think that Kyrie leaving, I think, is just another layer to James Harden leaving. I think that these guys are selfish players who are all about them, and that's not going to work on a Kevin Durant-led team, because it's Kevin Durant and everybody else, which is how it should be. And I think that if Kevin can get another star who doesn't need to be the man to play next to him, you're going to be in a great spot. I mean, again, this is a guy who damn near beat the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, and wasn't able to beat them because his shoe size is too big. Like, I mean, that's what we're talking about here. So I just think this is good for Kevin Durant, and frankly, I think it's good for the Brooklyn Nets, and I think that the Nets have been sending these messages since the end of the season presser when Bobby Marks essentially said that they're not going to have conversations around Kyrie right now. That told me everything I need to know, which is we're probably moving on from him and we're tired of the drama.
Would you want Kyrie Irving on your team? Because I got to tell you, I would love to have him. If the Jazz could get Kyrie Irving, do you know what Kyrie Irving would mean to Donovan Mitchell? My God.
I think it would mean less touches a game. I think it would mean locker room issues.
I
wouldn't have him on my team.
The issue is, and again, I think Kyrie Irving is a complex guy. Whether it is the thing we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube with the arm stick face thing.
I think that's HIPAA.
I think that is HIPAA, Dak. Or if it is Ramadan and being of the Muslim faith and fasting during playoff games, and there's a lot of complexity to Kyrie Irving. Whether it is taking off games to go to a birthday party, which he was accused of that I don't necessarily believe. Whether it is going to a club in the middle of the thing we're not allowed to talk about where you didn't get the thing in the arm for a party, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Not being able to play games at home.
Yeah.
The Nets being bad. The Nets missing him. The James Harden situation. Like, all of this stuff was a problem. But is Kyrie Irving worth that? And
please respect my privacy.
Yeah, you know what, Jake? I got to tell you, I think he's worth it because I think most of that now has gone away. Now, obviously, he's Muslim. He is going to fast during Ramadan, which happens to fall during the NBA playoffs.
Guess what? Today, Monday, motherfucker.
Yeah, well, just another day for Kyrie, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think you have to understand that that's who he is. But I think he's got tremendous value around the league.
He's going to get paid. I don't have any question about that. I mean, it's not even in doubt. What my biggest problem is we don't need more locker room issues in the Utah Jazz organization. We don't need more, hey, this guy has an issue here or there and he can't play, and we don't need that, man. You're talking about a situation for the Utah Jazz where you got to hire a new head coach. You got to rebuild this roster. By the way, where are you going to get the money to sign Kyrie? That's my other question. I mean, obviously you could do it, but it just is. It's a frustrating situation. I mean, a guy who again, all these guys have escalating contracts. That's frustrating. So 1920 he's getting $31 million. 2021 he's getting $33 million.
Yeah.
21-22 you're getting $34 million, and this year 2022-2023 you're getting $36 million. Then he's an unrestricted free agent.
On a player option.
Like
he's on a player option there. I mean, when you look at the money that he would get, I think if he opts out of that, what I think the likely scenario here, and if you kind of read the tea leaves here, if he leaves, he's essentially an unrestricted free agent right now, right? He's got this player option. He's going to go out to the market and he's going to negotiate a contract with somebody. He's going to opt out of his contract and he's going to take that contract. My guess is the more likely scenario is sign and trade. Now, the other thing that I think there is no doubt about, boy, does this open up an opportunity for the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, that's
true. And if Brooklyn's open or amenable to a sign and trade, you know that there were all kinds of conversations between the Lakers, the Jazz, and the Rockets. Why can't you do a Lakers, Jazz, Nets deal that winds up with Russ in Brooklyn, Kyrie in LA, and a combination of players and picks in Utah?
Well said.
Because, man, you have to feel like if they can do a 3-team trade that ends up with Bojan Bogdanovic on the Lakers, or ends up with, because he was already, he was already in net, there are opportunities here to get involved in that deal. I don't necessarily think there's a fit for Rudy Gobert in one of those places. But my goodness, you can't tell me that there's not an opportunity here for the Jazz to be a third team in that deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Jazz are. This is where having Danny Ainge, is priceless. I mean, to have Danny Ainge in these conversations, to have Danny Ainge, to put Danny Ainge in a position where other teams have need. Because there was a comment earlier in the show, I can't remember your name, but you basically said, well, James said that Rudy's worth what people are willing to pay.
Yes.
Another guy said that hey, other teams, the issue is other teams don't value Rudy. Well, maybe this can fill that void. Maybe this can kind of not maybe meet them all the way in the middle, but help with that, because now the Nets have a need. Now the Lakers obviously have a need. And so maybe the Jazz can kind of take advantage of that from the Rudy Gobert standpoint.
Yes.
And can bring something back. And I agree, it is an opportunity.
Justin Salas with a $10 tip this morning. Thank you so much for contributing to the show, Justin. Appreciate you, longtime listener. Hope you're doing well. He says, not a chance in hell I would take Kyrie on the Jazz. This man is a cancer in any locker room. P.S. Love the new camera. Thank you, man. Appreciate that.